The summer sun was setting over Pine Creek, Ohio, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. 8-year-old Ethan Miller rode his bike in circles on the driveway, trying to enjoy the last bit of daylight before his mom called him in for dinner. His house sat at the edge of town, where neat suburban lawns gave way to dense woods that all the neighborhood kids believed were haunted. Ethan was a curious boy with sandy brown hair that never stayed combed and bright green eyes that his grandmother said could see right through lies. He wasn't the biggest kid in his third-grade class, but he was smart and quick on his feet. 5 more minutes, then dinner, Susan Miller called from the porch. She was still wearing her nurse's scrubs from her shift at the local hospital. "Okay, Mom," Ethan shouted back, pedaling faster. He wanted to practice his new trick, standing on the seat while the bike was moving. So far, he had managed to stay up for 3 whole seconds before falling. As he rode toward the back of the yard, something unusual caught his eye. A streak of light moved across the darkening sky. At first, Ethan thought it was a shooting star, but it was moving too slowly and it seemed to be getting bigger. "Whoa," he whispered, stopping his bike and planting his feet on the ground. The light grew brighter and split into several smaller lights, all moving in formation. They weren't airplane lights or satellites. They were something else. The formation changed direction suddenly, dipping lower toward Earth, toward Pine Creek, toward the woods behind Ethan's house. One light, brighter than the others, separated from the group and descended rapidly, leaving a faint trail of blue-green glow behind it. Ethan's heart raced. The strange light disappeared behind the tree line with a distant thud that he felt more than heard. A flock of birds erupted from the woods, scattering in all directions. He glanced, back at his house. His mom had gone inside. His dad, Jack, wouldn't be home from the construction site for another hour. No one else had seen it. Ethan dropped his bike on the lawn and walked to the edge of the woods. The responsible thing would be to go tell his mom what he saw. But what if it was something amazing? What if it was gone by the time he came back with adults? Just a quick look, he decided, stepping into the trees. The woods were darker than the yard, but not pitch black yet. Ethan knew these woods well. He and his friends built forts here and played hide-and-seek among the tall oaks and maples. He moved carefully, stepping over fallen branches and avoiding the thorny bushes that grabbed at his clothes. About 5 minutes into the woods, Ethan noticed a faint blue glow ahead. The trees in that direction looked strange. Some were bent, others splintered. As he got closer, he could smell something burning like metal left too long on a hot stove. He pushed through a final layer of bushes and froze. In a small clearing sat a strange object about the size of his dad's pickup truck. It was oval-shaped with a smooth metallic surface that shifted colors like oil on water. One side was cracked open, revealing a soft blue light from inside. This wasn't a weather balloon or a fallen satellite. This was something else entirely. Ethan crept closer, his heart pounding in his chest. A trail of disturbed earth showed where the object had skidded to a stop. Small fires burned in patches of grass around it. "Hello?" Ethan called out, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is anyone there?" A sound came from the other side of the object, a wet, sliding noise followed by something that might have been breathing. Ethan moved around the crash site, careful to stay a safe distance away. On the far side of the object was a creature unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It was about his height, but thinner, with skin that glowed a soft blue. It had 2 arms, and 2 legs like a human, but its joints bent in odd ways. Its head was hairless and slightly too large, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The creature wore something like a uniform, torn and smoking in places. The alien, because what else could it be, was hurt. A dark liquid that looked like ink oozed from a wound on its side. It was trying to crawl back toward the crashed ship, dragging one leg behind it. Ethan stood frozen, unable to decide if he should run away or try to help. The creature hadn't noticed him yet. Maybe he could go get his parents? But what if it died while he was gone? What if other people came and took it away? "I'm not going to hurt you," Ethan said softly, taking a small step forward. The alien's head snapped up, all 4 eyes focusing on him. It made a series of clicking and whistling sounds, pulling itself backward until it hit the side of the ship. "It's okay," Ethan said, holding his hands up to show they were empty. "You're hurt. I can get help." The creature's breathing quickened. It raised a 3-fingered hand toward Ethan, making more urgent sounds. The boy took another step forward, now just 10 feet away. The alien's chest expanded suddenly, and before Ethan could react, it spat a clear, shimmering substance that hit his arm. The liquid felt cool, almost tingling where it touched his skin. Ethan jumped back, wiping frantically at his arm, but the strange saliva had already soaked into his skin, leaving only a faint blue shimmer that faded within seconds. "What did you do?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking. He didn't feel hurt, just strange, like the moment after getting a shot at the doctor's office when you're not sure if it's going to start hurting. The alien made a low, moaning sound. Its 4 eyes blinked in sequence, and then it collapsed to the ground, still breathing but clearly exhausted. Ethan wasn't sure what to do next. The alien's saliva on his arm hadn't burned him or anything, but it felt weird, like his skin was buzzing. He should probably tell someone about this. His mom would know what to do. She helped sick people every day at the hospital. But before he could decide, bright lights flooded the clearing. The sound of vehicles and shouting voices filled the air. Men in strange suits that covered their entire bodies rushed into the clearing, carrying lights and weapons. "Civilian child detected, secure the miner," someone shouted. 2 of the suited figures ran toward Ethan. He tried to back away, but they moved too quickly. One grabbed him by the shoulders while another scanned him with a handheld device that beeped rapidly when it passed over his arm. "Contamination. Detected. Quarantine protocols in effect." "Wait," Ethan yelled. "I didn't do anything wrong. The alien just—" "It's okay, son," said the person holding him, voice muffled by their suit. "We're with the government. You're not in trouble, but we need to make sure you're safe." More people entered the clearing. Some went to the alien, surrounding it with equipment. Others began setting up lights and what looked like a temporary fence around the crashed ship. "Mom, Dad," Ethan called out, suddenly realizing how scared he was. "I need to tell my parents where I am." "We'll contact your parents," the suited person said, leading him toward a large black van at the edge of the clearing. "But right now we need to check you out. Something from that creature got on you and we need to make sure you're okay." As they guided him into the van, Ethan looked back at the clearing. The alien was being lifted onto a stretcher, its blue skin now looking pale and dull. Their eyes met briefly across the distance, 4 alien eyes looking into 2 human ones, and Ethan felt something strange pass between them. A connection, a message, but he couldn't understand what it meant. The van doors closed, and Ethan Miller, an ordinary boy from Pine Creek, Ohio, began a journey that would change not just his life but the fate of the entire planet. The government facility looked like a normal hospital from the inside, with white walls and the smell of disinfectant in the air. But Ethan knew it wasn't a regular hospital. Regular hospitals didn't have armed guards at every door. They didn't have scientists in special suits running tests all day long. And they definitely didn't have alien creatures in secure rooms down the hall. 3 days had passed since Ethan was brought here. His parents were allowed to stay with him in a small room that had a bed for him and a pull-out couch for them. His mom cried a lot at first. His dad argued with the people in charge, demanding to take Ethan home. But then Dr. Olivia West showed them the test results, and they stopped arguing. Dr. West was in charge of studying both Ethan and the alien. She was tall with short gray hair and kind eyes behind square glasses. She didn't talk to Ethan like he was a little kid, which he appreciated. "How are you feeling today, Ethan?" Dr. West asked as she came into his room. She was carrying her tablet computer as usual, ready to take notes. "The same. My arm still feels funny, like it's buzzing inside." Ethan held up his right arm, where the alien saliva had landed. The skin looked normal now, but it felt different. "Any headaches? Stomach pain? Trouble sleeping?" She tapped on her tablet as she asked. "No headaches, but I had a weird dream last night." Ethan looked over at his parents, who were sitting on the couch watching him with worried faces. "I dreamed I could understand what the alien was saying. It was talking about home." Dr. West stopped typing and looked at him closely. Do you remember what it said about home? Ethan closed his eyes. Something about stars and a long journey, and something called the Krislak? Is that the name of its people? Dr. West exchanged a look with Ethan's parents. That's interesting. Ethan, we've been trying to communicate with the alien, but it hasn't been responding well. It's very sick. Is it going to die? Ethan asked. Dr. West didn't answer right away. We're doing everything we can, she said finally. Now I need to take some more blood samples, okay? Ethan was used to the blood draws by now. As Dr. West prepared the needle, his dad came over and held his hand. You're being really brave, buddy, Jack Miller said, his voice rough. He hadn't shaved in days, and dark circles made his eyes look sunken. It doesn't hurt much, Ethan said, trying to sound tough. Dad, when can we go home? His father squeezed his hand. I don't know, Ethan. The doctors need to make sure that whatever the alien did to you isn't dangerous. I don't think it was trying to hurt me, Ethan said as Dr. West slid the needle into his arm. I think it was scared. Later that day, the alarms went off. Red lights flashed in the hallway outside Ethan's room. He could hear people running and shouting. His mom pulled him close to her on the bed while his dad stood by the door listening. After a while, Dr. West came in. She looked tired, her face drawn. The alien died 10 minutes ago, she said quietly. We did everything we could. Ethan felt a strange sadness wash over him. He hadn't really known the alien, had only seen it for a few minutes in the woods, but somehow he felt connected to it. What happens now? Susan Miller asked, her arm tight around Ethan's shoulders. We keep monitoring Ethan, Dr. West said. The alien's death doesn't change our situation. In fact, it makes understanding what's happening to him even more important. She turned on a small projector that displayed an image on the wall. It showed something that looked like tiny machines swimming in red liquid. This is Ethan's blood from today's sample, she explained. Those little structures aren't supposed to be there. They're not from Earth. They're some kind of nanotechnology. Tiny machines that the alien introduced into Ethan's system through its saliva. Machines? Inside me? Ethan stared at the image with wide eyes. Yes, and they're changing you. Slowly, but in ways we don't fully understand yet. Dr. West adjusted her glasses. They seem to be integrating with your cells, altering them at a molecular level. Is it killing him? Susan asked, her voice breaking. No. At least we don't think so. His vital signs are stable. His overall health is good. But he's changing. Dr. West turned off the projector. There's something else you need to know. She pulled up a different image on her tablet and showed it to them. It looked like a picture of space with many bright dots moving in formation. Early this morning, our deep space monitoring stations detected this. It's a fleet of ships entering our solar system. Based on their design and energy signatures, we believe they're from the same civilization as our visitor. Jack stood up straighter. More aliens? Are they coming to help their friend? Dr. West's face was grim. We don't think so. We've been able to partially decode some transmissions between the ships. They're not a rescue mission. They're an invasion force. The room went silent. Ethan felt his mom's arm tighten around him even more. How long? Jack finally asked. Before they reach Earth? About 2 weeks, at their current speed. Dr. West looked directly at Ethan. That's why understanding what's happening to Ethan is so important now. The nanobots in his system might give us information about the aliens, their weaknesses, their intentions. Ethan's stomach felt tight with fear. They're coming to hurt us, aren't they? Before Dr. West could answer, Ethan felt a strange sensation in his head. Words and images flashed in his mind, but not in any language he knew. Yet somehow he understood. They call themselves the Krislak, he said, his voice sounding distant to his own ears. They've been searching for a new world. Their home is dying. They found 12 other planets with life, but none were suitable. He looked up at Dr. West with fear in his eyes. They made those planets suitable by removing the original life forms. Everyone stared at him in shock. Ethan, how do you know that? Dr. West asked, already typing rapidly on her tablet. I don't know. I just saw it in my head. Ethan touched his temple. There's more. They can't live with our germs and bacteria. They plan to clean the planet before they move in. Clean the planet? Jack repeated. Kill everything. Ethan whispered. Every person, every animal, every plant. Then wait for the microbes to die off before they colonize. Dr. West was on her feet now, calling someone on her phone. Get me General Harding now. Tell him it's about the Krislak fleet. Yes, I said Krislak. We have confirmation of their intentions. As she spoke urgently into her phone, Ethan closed his eyes. More images were coming to him. Star maps, weapon systems, alien faces with 4 eyes like the creature he'd met in the woods. The nanobots weren't just changing his body. They were changing his mind, giving him access to knowledge he shouldn't have. Knowledge that might save Earth if he could understand it in time. Because right now, somewhere beyond Mars, a fleet of alien ships was heading toward Earth with one purpose: to wipe humanity from existence and take the planet for themselves. 1 week had passed since Ethan first learned about the approaching Krislak fleet. The government facility had changed. The quiet, hospital-like corridors were now filled with military personnel, scientists, and important-looking people in suits, rushing from one meeting to another. Everyone looked worried and tired. Ethan sat cross-legged on his bed, surrounded by tablets and computer screens. He wasn't the same boy who had ridden his bike in the driveway just days ago. His skin had a faint blue tint now, especially around his hands and face. His green eyes had specks of gold in them that seemed to glow in dim light, and most noticeably, he could do things with his mind that no human child should be able to do. Try the next one, Dr. West said, showing him a screen with complex alien symbols. Ethan glanced at it and spoke without hesitation. It says, Engine, Coolant System Maintenance Protocol. It's a technical manual for the scout ships like the one that crashed. Dr. West nodded, making notes. She had dark circles under her eyes from working almost non-stop. And this one? She showed him another image. Star maps. Navigation charts for the area they call Sector 7, which includes our solar system. Ethan's voice sounded different now, too. Still a child's voice, but with unusual clarity and confidence. Jack and Susan Miller watched from nearby, trying to hide their concern. They barely recognized their son anymore. Not just his changing appearance, but the way he talked, the way he seemed to know things no 8-year-old could possibly know. That's enough for now, Susan said, standing up. Ethan needs to rest. She still tried to be a mother to protect her child even in this strange situation. Dr. West nodded. Of course. We'll continue later. She gathered her equipment and left the room, giving the family some privacy. Susan sat next to Ethan on the bed. How do you feel, sweetheart? Ethan looked at his hands, flexing his fingers. Different. My head is so full of stuff, information, ideas, things I never knew before. He looked up at his mother. Mom, I'm scared, but also not scared. It's weird. Jack sat on his other side. What do you mean, buddy? Part of me is just regular Ethan, and that part is super scared about the aliens coming to hurt Earth. But another part of me understands things now, big things, like how the universe works and how the Krislak think. He frowned. They're not evil, Dad. They're just different. Their home planet is dying, and they need somewhere new to live. That doesn't give them the right to kill us all, Jack said firmly. I know. That's why we have to stop them. Ethan's eyes flashed gold for a moment, and I think I know how. Later that day, Ethan was moved to a larger room filled with computers and scientific equipment. General Peter Harding, a tall man with a stern face and gray hair cut short, was waiting there along with Dr. West and several other officials. Ethan, this is General Harding, Dr. West said. He's in charge of Earth's defense against the Krislak fleet. Ethan nodded to the general. Your current defense plan won't work. Their shields are too strong for our weapons. General Harding raised his eyebrows but didn't seem surprised by Ethan's directness. That's what we feared. Do you have an alternative suggestion? Yes, but first I need to show you something. Ethan walked to a computer and placed his hand on the screen. To everyone's amazement, the screen lit up with new information, diagrams and text that hadn't been there before. How did you do that? One of the scientists asked. The nanobots in my system let me connect with your technology. Ethan explained simply, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I can see the data and change it with my thoughts. He turned to General Harding. This is the Krislak Fleet Formation. And this, he moved his hand and the display changed, is their weapon system. They plan to use biological weapons first, to kill all larger life forms, then chemical weapons to eliminate plants and smaller animals. Finally, they'll release nanobots into the atmosphere to break down all remaining organic matter. The room was silent as everyone stared at the detailed plans Ethan had revealed. My God, someone whispered. But they have a weakness. Ethan continued. The nanobots in my system weren't a weapon. They were part of the Scouts' medical system, meant to repair injuries. But when they mixed with human DNA, my DNA, they created something new, something the Krislak aren't prepared for. General Harding leaned forward. Explain. The nanobots are changing me, giving me access to Krislak knowledge. But they're also learning from my human cells. Ethan's voice grew stronger. I can create a signal, a specific electromagnetic frequency that will disrupt their ship systems. But to generate it correctly, the nanobots need to finish their work. In my body. What does that mean, Ethan? Dr. West asked gently. Ethan looked at her, then at his parents who had just entered the room. It means I'll become even less human, more like them. The nanobots will restructure more of my brain, give me abilities I don't have yet. Susan stepped forward. No, there has to be another way. There isn't, Mom. We have 6 days before they reach Earth. The changes are already happening. Ethan held out his arm where the blue tint was now clearly visible. I'm not fighting it anymore. Dr. West spoke up. The process is accelerating. The nanobots are multiplying and integrating with his central nervous system. Soon they'll reach a critical mass in his brain tissue. Will it kill him? Jack asked, his voice breaking. Dr. West looked uncertain. We don't know. Nothing like this has ever happened before. The changes are profound, but Ethan's vital signs remain stable. I'm still me, Dad, Ethan said, going to his father. I'll always be me, just more than I was before. Over the next 3 days, Ethan's transformation accelerated. He stopped, sleeping entirely. His eyes now glowed golden in any light. His skin had a definite blue sheen. But the most dramatic changes were in his mind. He could now process information at incredible speeds, reading entire books in minutes. He could manipulate computers with just a thought, and most remarkably, he had developed telekinetic abilities, moving small objects with his mind. The scientists were amazed. The military was hopeful. His parents were terrified. The nanobots were designed to repair a Krislak body, Ethan explained to Dr. West as she ran tests on his brain activity. But in a human, they've created a hybrid, part human brain, part Krislak technology. Does it hurt? She asked. Ethan considered the question. Yes, but not in a way I can explain. It's like my thoughts are too big for my head now. In a private moment with his parents, Ethan tried to help them understand. I'm still your son, he said, taking their hands in his blue-tinged ones. I still remember how you used to read me stories every night, Dad. I remember how you taught me to ride my bike, Mom. All those memories are still there. Susan wiped tears from her eyes. But for how long? Will you forget us when the change is complete? Ethan shook his head. No, the human part of me isn't being replaced. It's being expanded. And that's what will save Earth. He looked at them with glowing eyes. The Krislak never expected this. They've destroyed 12 other worlds, but they've never encountered humans before. They don't know how adaptable we are. As the Krislak fleet drew closer, Ethan's plan took shape. Using his new abilities and knowledge, he helped Earth scientists modify their satellite systems and defense platforms. The changes would allow them to generate the specific electromagnetic frequency that could disrupt the alien ships. But the key component would be Ethan himself. Only his hybrid mind could calculate the precise frequency needed and adjust it in real time as the Krislak adapted their defenses. The fate of humanity now rested on the shoulders of an 8-year-old boy who was becoming less human with each passing hour. The world leaders gathered in a secure video conference to hear about Earth's defense plan. On screens around the globe, presidents, prime ministers, and military chiefs listened as General Harding explained the situation. Beside him stood a small figure with blue-tinted skin and glowing golden eyes. Ethan Miller, no longer just a child from Ohio, but humanity's greatest hope. The Krislak fleet will reach Earth's orbit in 36 hours, General Harding said. His voice was steady, but his face showed the strain of the past week. Thanks to the information provided by Ethan, we have developed a defense strategy. The camera turned to Dr. West, who stood next to a large screen showing technical diagrams. The Krislak ships are vulnerable to a specific electromagnetic frequency, she explained. This frequency disrupts their navigation systems and weapons targeting. However, generating this frequency with enough power to affect their entire fleet requires technology we don't have. One of the world leaders spoke up. Then how can we defend ourselves? Dr. West gestured to Ethan. That's where Ethan comes in. The nanobots in his system have created a unique neural network that can generate and amplify the frequency. We've built a device that will connect to Ethan and broadcast the signal to our satellite network, which will then redirect it at the Krislak fleet. There was silence as the world leaders processed this information. Finally, the President of the United States spoke. You're telling us our planet's defense rests on the shoulders of an 8-year-old boy. Ethan stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice carried an authority that seemed impossible for a child. I understand your concern, he said. But I am no longer just an 8-year-old boy. The nanobots have given me access to Krislak knowledge and technology. I know their weaknesses, I can see their battle plans, and most importantly, I can adjust the frequency in real time as they try to adapt their shields. He paused, looking at each leader on the screens. There is no other way. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of Earth's. This is our only chance. After the meeting, Ethan sat with his parents in their room at the facility. His mother brushed his hair, though it no longer needed brushing. It seemed to stay perfectly in place now. Another small change from the nanobots. Are you scared? Susan asked softly. Ethan thought about this. The nanobots had changed how his emotions worked too. Fear was different now, more distant, more analytical. Yes, he said finally, but not about the plan. I'm scared that when this is over, if we win, I won't be able to be your son anymore. Not the way I was before. Jack put his arm around Ethan's thin shoulders. Listen to me, buddy. No matter what happens, no matter how much you change, you will always be our son. Nothing can change that. Ethan leaned into his father's embrace. Despite all the alien knowledge now filling his mind, despite his changing body and new abilities, he still found comfort in his parents' love. That part of him remained fully human. The next morning, final preparations began. The device that would connect to Ethan's neural network was a sleek silver helmet covered in delicate sensors. Dr. West carefully placed it on Ethan's head, adjusting the connections. The sensors will read the electromagnetic patterns from your brain and amplify them, she explained. The signal will then be sent to our satellite network and redirected at the Krislak fleet. Ethan nodded. I can feel it connecting. It's like an extension of my thoughts. In the command center, monitors showed the Krislak fleet approaching. Hundreds of ships, arranged in a formation that reminded Ethan of a giant spear point aimed at Earth. The largest ship, the command vessel, led the formation. They're entering lunar orbit, announced a technician. Estimated time to Earth's atmosphere, 3 hours. General Harding turned to Ethan. Are you ready, son? Ethan took a deep breath. Yes, sir. Begin the transmission, ordered the general. Ethan closed his eyes. Inside his mind, he could see the complex patterns of energy that made up the Kryzlak shield systems. Like a musician finding the perfect note, he focused his thoughts on the exact frequency that would disrupt those patterns. The helmet hummed. On the monitors, the satellite network lit up as it received Ethan's signal and directed it toward the alien fleet. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then one of the smaller Kryzlak ships at the edge of the formation began to drift out of position. "It's working," Dr. West exclaimed. "Their navigation system is responding to the frequency." More ships began to show signs of disruption. But then, as Ethan had predicted, the Kryzlak adapted. The command ship emitted a pulse that restored order to the formation. Ethan frowned in concentration. Inside his mind, he adjusted the frequency, finding a new pattern that would bypass the Kryzlak countermeasures. The helmet hummed louder, and beads of sweat formed on his blue-tinted skin. "His vital signs are elevating," warned a medical officer monitoring Ethan's condition. "Heart rate increasing, brain activity off the charts." Susan stepped forward in alarm. "Is he in danger?" "We don't know," Dr. West admitted. "This is beyond anything we've ever done before." On the monitors, the Kryzlak fleet faltered again as Ethan's new frequency reached them. More ships drifted out of formation. Some began to spin slowly, their navigation systems completely disrupted. But again, the Kryzlak adapted. And again, Ethan adjusted the frequency. It became a battle of adaptation, the collective intelligence of the Kryzlak civilization against the hybrid mind of one human child enhanced by their own technology. Each time they found a defense, Ethan found a way around it. The strain was taking its toll. Blood trickled from Ethan's nose and the gold in his eyes glowed brighter than ever. "His body temperature is rising dangerously," reported the medical officer. "We need to stop this now or we risk permanent damage." "No," Ethan said, his voice strained. "I'm almost there, just a little longer." On the monitors, the disruption in the Kryzlak fleet was spreading. Even the command ship was now affected, its massive bulk drifting off course. "They're firing weapons," called out a technician. Everyone watched in horror as the Kryzlak ships launched energy beams toward Earth. But the beams went wide, missing the planet entirely. Their targeting systems were compromised by Ethan's signal. "It's working," General Harding said quietly. "Keep going, son." Ethan pushed harder, digging deeper into the Kryzlak systems. He could feel them trying to adapt, trying to find a way to block his signal. But he was always one step ahead, changing the frequency pattern in ways they couldn't predict. The nanobots in his system worked frantically to support his brain through the strain, rebuilding neural pathways as they burned out from the effort. His body was changing even faster now, becoming something more than human but less than Kryzlak, a true hybrid being born of both worlds. "The fleet is breaking formation completely," reported a technician. "Their engines are shutting down." Cheer went up in the command center, but Ethan didn't hear it. He was too deep in his mental battle with the Kryzlak systems, and he had made a discovery. Something hidden in the command ship's database, something the Kryzlak had kept secret even from themselves. This wasn't the first time they had encountered humans. Long ago, they had visited Earth and taken samples. They had studied humanity and deemed it a potential threat, a species too adaptable, too resilient, too creative to be allowed to develop space travel. The invasion wasn't just about finding a new home. It was about eliminating a future rival, Azair. This knowledge filled Ethan's mind. He made a decision. The Kryzlak fleet was disabled but not destroyed. Earth had won this battle, but the war was far from over. And to truly secure humanity's future, Ethan would need to take one final, dangerous step. Alarms blared throughout the command center. The Kryzlak fleet, though disabled and drifting, had managed to launch several smaller ships. These escape pods were heading directly toward Earth, carrying what Ethan could sense were elite Kryzlak warriors. "5 craft approaching, moving fast," called out a technician. "They'll enter the atmosphere in 10 minutes. General Harding barked orders for missile interception, but Ethan knew it wouldn't be enough. These smaller ships were shielded differently. His current frequency couldn't stop them. "They're sending a strike team," Ethan said, his voice strained, "to retrieve me." Dr. West looked at him in shock. Why would they want you? Because I'm the bridge between our species now. I have their knowledge, their technology in my brain. Ethan's golden eyes flashed. And they know I'm the only real threat to them. Susan grabbed her son's hand. We need to hide you somewhere. Ethan shook his head. No, this needs to end now. He turned to General Harding. I need to go to them. The command center erupted in protests. His parents were the loudest, begging him to reconsider. But Ethan's mind was made up. Listen to me, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. Though he still looked like a child, there was nothing childlike about his presence now. The Krislak will never stop coming. Even if we destroy these ships, their homeworld will send more. The only way to truly protect Earth is to give them what they really want. And what's that? General Harding asked quietly. A new home. Ethan removed the silver helmet. Not Earth. But I know where they can go instead. Ethan explained his plan, quickly. The nanobots had given him access to star charts and planetary data from across the galaxy. He knew of several uninhabited worlds that could support Krislak life with minimal terraforming, worlds without the complex ecosystem and microbial life that made Earth incompatible with Krislak biology. I can communicate this to them directly, make them understand there's another option besides war. Ethan's gaze was steady. But I need to be on their command ship to do it. That's suicide, Jack Miller protested. They'll kill you. No, Ethan said. They need me alive. I'm too valuable now. I understand both species in a way no one else can. After heated debate, a compromise was reached. Ethan would be allowed to approach the landing site of the Krislak escape pods, but with a military escort. If communication failed, they would extract him immediately. As they prepared to leave, Ethan took a moment with his parents. The changes to his body had accelerated during the mental battle with the Krislak fleet. His skin was fully blue now, his eyes permanently golden. He looked more alien than human. I know what you're thinking, he said to his mother, whose tears flowed freely. That you've lost your little boy. But everything that made me Ethan is still here. He touched his chest. The nanobots changed my body, but they couldn't change who I am inside. Susan hugged him fiercely. Promise me you'll come back. Ethan held her tight. I promise to try. The military convoy raced toward the projected landing site in the Nevada desert. Satellite images showed the 5 Krislak pods had already touched down and figures were emerging. When they arrived, Ethan asked to be let out alone. After much argument, General Harding agreed to let him walk forward with just a communication device. Snipers and tanks stood ready behind him. Ethan walked slowly across the desert sand toward the alien craft. The Krislak warriors stood waiting, tall blue figures with 4 eyes watching his approach. They carried weapons but kept them lowered. When he was 10 feet away, Ethan stopped. He raised his hand in greeting and spoke in the clicking, whistling language of the Krislak. The lead warrior responded, surprise evident in its 4-eyed gaze at hearing its own language from this strange hybrid creature. Their conversation was brief but intense. Ethan explained who he was, how he had been transformed, and what he knew about the Krislak's true history with Earth. He offered them an alternative, his knowledge of suitable planets where they could build a new home without destroying another species. The warriors conferred among themselves. Then the leader approached Ethan and extended a 3-fingered hand. In it was a small device, similar to the silver helmet Ethan had worn earlier. They want to confirm what I'm telling them, Ethan explained over the communication link to General Harding. This will connect me directly to their command ship. It could be a weapon, warned the general. It's not. Ethan took the device and placed it on his head. Instantly, his mind was flooded with new information, the complete history of the Krislak civilization, their desperate search for a new home, as their star slowly died, their previous encounters with other species, and their fear of humanity, a species so adaptable that the Krislak scientists predicted they would surpass them technologically within a few centuries if left alone. Ethan sent back his own knowledge, Earth's history, culture, and the location of the uninhabited worlds he had identified. He showed them how peace between their species was possible. The connection lasted only minutes, but when it ended, everything had changed. The Krislak leader bowed to Ethan and spoke a single phrase that Ethan translated for the humans listening. The war is over. In the days that followed, an unprecedented peace agreement was formed. The Krislak fleet would be allowed to repair their ships using resources from the outer planets of the solar system. In exchange, they would share certain technologies with Earth, medical advances, clean energy systems, and faster-than-light communication. Ethan became the official ambassador between the species, his unique position as a human Krislak hybrid making him perfect for the role. Teams of scientists from both species studied the nanobots in his system, learning how the accidental integration had created something new and unexpected. For the Miller family, life would never return to normal. They moved to a specially built facility where Ethan could continue his work while still having a home with his parents. Susan and Jack had to accept that their son would never again be just a regular boy riding his bike in the driveway. But he was still their son, with the same heart and soul, even if his body and mind had been transformed. 6 months after the Krislak fleet's arrival, Ethan stood with his parents on the roof of their new home, watching as the alien ships prepared to depart. They were heading for a planet in the Tau Ceti system that Ethan had helped them select, a world rich in resources, but devoid of complex life. "Will you miss them?" Jack asked, noting how Ethan's eyes followed the ships. "Part of me will," Ethan admitted. "The Krislak part understands them, feels connected to them." He turned to his parents with a smile. "But the human part is glad they're leaving Earth in peace." Susan put her arm around her son's shoulders. "And what about you? How do you feel now?" Ethan considered this. The nanobots had stabilized in his system. He would continue to change, but more slowly now. He would never be fully human again, but he wasn't becoming fully Krislak either. He was something new, a bridge between worlds. "I feel like myself," he said finally. "Just a bigger version of myself than I ever thought possible." As they watched, the Krislak fleet rose into the evening sky, their engines glowing blue against the darkening horizon. They had come to destroy Earth and had instead found an unexpected ally, all because of an accident, an alien saliva on a human child. Ethan raised his hand in farewell. His skin glowed blue in the twilight, and his golden eyes reflected the stars that were just beginning to appear. The stars that were no longer just distant lights, but future destinations for a humanity that now knew it wasn't alone in the universe. And, whatever challenges lay ahead, Ethan Miller, no longer just a boy from Ohio but not quite an alien either, would face them with the unique perspective of someone who understood both worlds. He was humanity's first step into a larger universe, a bridge between species once bent on destroying each other, now moving forward in peace.